All right, we just listened to Anti-Flag's new album, Lies They Tell Our Children. So now we're going to do a little review on it. I'll give you some thoughts and maybe some track highlights, and then we'll go into a deeper discussion with my co-host Jordan over here and tell you what we think and give you our ratings. All right, so precursor, I haven't listened to Anti-Flag in about 20 years, so I was a big fan back in the day. You know, I was in high school, but I don't have a lot of stuff to compare this album to, the retrospect of Anti-Flag, outside of just what I can remember from what I used to listen to. We'll just be going kind of off of that, so we'll see how it goes. So I don't know how much of their music has changed. It's definitely a little bit different. I would say this is it's still very punk. It's not, you know, like way different. It's just a little bit more digestible. But all right, so yeah, so as I was saying, I do think this album is definitely more digestible. It almost feels like it's in the style of like it feels pop punk ish in like tone, and just it's very like upbeat kind of feeling, not as kind of angry as I remember them being. However, it doesn't, like, lyrically, like, you don't get any of that pop punk shit. Like, you can feel all of the politicism and all of the messaging. You feel the punk in it. Like, it's there. Just sonically, it sounds very pop punk, which is fine. You know, kind of like Rise Against is kind of in that vein a little bit as well. You know, which there's a feature on here for that. So I do like that. Especially in this day and age, you know, they're a big old punk band, you know, so it makes sense, especially with the fact that they use some features here of several newer artists, you know, that have just formed in the past couple years. So seemingly to try to kind of reach the newer generation, which makes sense. I think that is a really cool thing to do, especially when you have this kind of messaging and stuff. So I do appreciate that as well. Let's see. Speaking of which, there are a whole bunch of features on this album. There's a whole bunch. You've got Silverstein, Rise Against, Bad Religion, a whole bunch of others, Bad Cop, Bad Cop. There was one I wanted to note, though, was the one I was super excited for. Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. On the second track, I was super pumped when I saw that. I was like, oh, cool, this is sick, you know. I'm a massive metalcore fan, and I could barely hear Jesse in the song. Like, I don't know if he just blended in so well, but like all the comments on the video were like, where's Jesse? Where's Jesse? And like, I don't know where Jesse was, to be specific. There were some screams, but I don't know if that was really him or not. Like, I don't know. So it was just very interesting note. I wish he could have stood out a little bit more in that. But also on that note, I think the band put a whole ton of work in the music videos. I thought that was really cool. There's several music videos, a couple lyric videos, which makes me kind of find it weird that 3 or 4 of the tracks on this album out of 11 didn't have either of those. Like, you already did like 7 out of 11. Might as well just do the other 4. Just tie it together, you know, and I think that would have just made it feel a little bit more cohesive, but I'm not going to mark off too much for that or anything, you know. I'm just saying, like, while you're there, you might as well. Might as well full commit, but, you know, whatever. So, other stuff about the sound, vocal range. I really like that the vocal range here is not, some punk bands, you just get the kind of one punk, you know, screaming, yelling sound. It's really cool that like all the members kind of do different vocals here. Even the main vocalist does some like different changes up. So there's lots of different styles of vocals in here to kind of keep it moving, kind of keep it fresh. There's even some screams. I thought that was really cool as well. Like straight up, like, you know, hardcore metalcore screams. They're very much in the background, but it is a welcome addition, I think. Production wise, great production. Fairly standard production, but very crisp, very clear. Lots of focus on the bass, which, you know, as Jordan was saying, is, you know, it's very standard in punk to have a lot of bass presence. But you know, when we listen to a whole bunch of other stuff where there's not a bunch of bass presence, it's very appreciated. So I really like how much the bass is present all throughout this album. Just tons of bass. Very nice. Drumming was standard, fairly standard guitars, very standard. I feel like the main members here were the bassist and the vocalist, and then everything else kind of kept it driving. So that was really cool. Some negatives here. I do think there was kind of a big focus on the third chorus here. You know, a lot of the songs had a lot of third choruses they didn't really play around too much with it. So I definitely wish they could have done that just a little bit. It kind of made the album drag just a little bit because it just kind of you kept getting the same chorus, in every song, and so it just kind of made it feel kind of long, which is surprising because the album's only 33 minutes. So just something I wish they would have played around with a little bit more, which I think they did on Never Ever, which, by the way, was my favorite track, I believe, and also I think should have been the album closer. I think it was a really big, epic song, had the nice feature in there, a nice play out that they did. I think that should have been the last track, either taken off Only in My Head or just moved it before it or something. I think Never Ever was just a really good track to end on. But other than that, I think that's really about it. I think overall it was still good. I don't know if I personally would go back and listen to a lot of this, but that's just because I don't listen to a lot of punk. But so I was cool seeing that this was coming out. So I was like, yeah, I used to listen to them back in the day. I'll check it out. It was also cool seeing Killswitch on here, so I was super hyped for that, even though it was kind of disappointed me specifically. But for what it was, I think it was really good. And again, the messaging here is huge, and so huge props to them for keeping that up. I really like that about them. So Jordan, what are you thinking about this album?
I thought this album was actually really, really good. There's a lot of enjoyable stuff on here. It's very like you said, it feels kind of pop punk, but it's still got that kind of more older punk feel to it, just because of the vocals and some of the instrumentation. More of that pop feel was more in the modern production that it has, and kind of them having a lot of features. That's kind of like a more modern thing that a lot of bands will do. And I think a lot of the features actually really elevate this album. The Jesse one was definitely kind of disappointing, but I feel like all the other ones were all really good.
Oh
They
yeah.
all picked people that were had kind of unique voices that you can kind of tell. Definitely Shane from Silverstein, you can tell, and then you got Tim from Rise Against. They both have very distinctive voices, and kind of more. I wouldn't say Rise Against, but like Silverstein and Killswitch, kind of having those kind of outside of the genre features, kind of maybe pulls in a little bit of the fans from the other genres, which I think is really cool. And that's kind of a good thing for their message. You want to kind of get their message out there to as many people as you can. And I think the messages on these songs are really, really good. Obviously, it's very political, very, poignant stuff. Even though it is a concept album, it's really not.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty grounded.
Yeah, it's pretty grounded in reality. So there's definitely something there. I feel like a lot of these songs, and maybe just the album as a whole, it seems like they really worked hard on it. Definitely doing a lot of the music videos and lyric videos to kind of supplement everything, and to get it out there more, because nowadays most people they kind of need the visual element with it, us included.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really think
Very
they're
appreciative.
for a punk band, that's kind of definitely something that a lot of other punk bands would probably shy away from, because they don't really have a lot of money, or they kind of refuse to be kind of overproduced or whatever. But I don't really think this is overproduced at all. I think it's pretty good. Definitely like the bass a lot. There's a lot of solo bass moments, and just very driving. Drums were fine. I think the guitars were pretty good too. I think in Never Ever, they kind of had that ending where he had like the solo, and it kind of like had like a cool ending where it's kind of not your typical punk ending. It was kind of more of like a straight rock kind of song, which I think was pretty good. I think that one and Victory or Death were my favorite ones. Definitely.
Yeah, I like the Imperialism one too. I really like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too. Definitely having those female vocals kind of gave it a little bit more variety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good on them for doing something kind of out of the box, but still having the punk, punk elements to it, which I think they hit it out of the park with this one.
All right. So rating wise, what would you rate this?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
9. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's a good rating. Okay.
I think a lot of the features kind of helped it a lot, but yeah, other songs were all really good too.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I'm quite that high, but I'm still up there. I think this was really good. And I like how it feels like an easy listen with the music, but still keeps that punk energy and
The message,
the message, yes.
It
So
really helped it for me. Yeah.
mhm. So, and again, all the features. I think the features were a good
And the
staple in
bass.
this album. Yep. So yeah, I'll give this an 8. It's a high 8 for me though. So
Yeah.
my scale, that's like an A-. So I think this is really good. So maybe one of these days I'll have to go back and listen to all the other shit I missed from the past 20 years of this band. So, but good. I'm glad they haven't changed too much. So I definitely huge props to them. So great job to Anti-Flag. Thank you for the album.